What's up, everybody? Welcome to Thunder Sports Pod, another episode with JT and
The Stache, baby. Boo! A little festive tonight for the podcast. It being October and all.
yes, sir. What does that say? Dadcula. Yes,
Dacula.
sir.
And my baby's about to be born, so I'm kind of
There you
give a
go.
little prepping.
Yes, sir. So, week 5 NFL games. What is your thoughts on this past weekend? Anything stand out to you?
The Jags beating the Bills in London, like we talked about before. I think it was mainly due to the jet lag. I don't see the Bills losing that game often. I think that was a big factor because the Jags stayed in London for 2 weeks and got the advantage through it. We know that for a fact. That can play a factor now, for sure. I would also say that most of the other games weren't that crazy besides the Vikings getting cheated out against the Chiefs. I mean, he took his helmet off. There was pass interference. They didn't call nothing. Then you see Patty Mahomes over there like, hey, refs, we got some dollar signs for you over here. So,
Yeah, I agree with what you've said. What really stood out to me was the Dallas game and how much they just did not show up. I mean, Dak Prescott's been looking pretty subpar this year, and if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm starting to worry because you mentioned a statistic to me earlier this evening about how the Dallas secondary was like top 3 or 4 in the league with Trayvon Diggs, and without him, the absence of Trayvon Diggs, they're ranked 30th in the league ever since he got hurt. That's a
yeah.
huge loss for that team. Um, and it's become very evident that they needed him badly. Um, and honestly, this shows me that San Francisco has the best team in football right now.
By far. By far. I don't think it's even close to any. Like, I don't think any other team in the NFL, and I mean the entirety of the NFL, can match the Niners right now on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. You can't if you can't contain their offense, their defense is going to get you. It just you can't do anything. And with Diggs being out, like we talked about for the Cowboys, if I was a Cowboys, I would be trying to get Patrick Surtain from the Denver Broncos to fill that spot. I think with him out, and I think Denver's about to blow it all up. I think they're about to take every bit and just like, hey, we're starting over. It's time to rebuild. So if I could get Patrick Surtain, I would.
I don't think they're going to trade Sertan. I
You don't
mean,
think
yeah,
so?
they're going to blow up a lot of pieces, but he's still a young corner piece that they can build around, I feel like. But unless in the next couple of years, if they continue to just struggle a lot, then I could see it. But that'd be a crazy pull if they were able to do that. But we'll go ahead and move on to our next segment. So we got a lot of T-Swizzle fans in the NFL now. Are you thinking that it's kind of getting tired of all this talk about Taylor Swift and Kelsey, or are you enjoying the Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift saga?
I'm not really like I don't really care about Mr. Pfizer if I'm being real with you. Uh I just think that personally I don't like it. Like it was funny at first, but like now it's getting to the point where it's kind of annoying more or less. Like because not only is it just Taylor, like I'm not even blaming Taylor herself. Like it's not her. It's just the fans
Yeah,
that's more of the issue. That's why I don't. That's why I have such a issue with Philly because of their fans, not their team itself, just their fan base. That's what I have more of an issue with. But also, we just got done with Patrick Mahomes' wife, dealing with her like that first year, and his brother, and now Taylor, and I'm just like, do we need more of this? Like, you're just gonna end up getting to the point where everyone is just gonna hate Kansas City. Besides the bandwagon fans, they just ride them every week, every year.
I mean, I look at it like this. I think there's good and bad behind it. The bad behind it, there's so much media coverage. That's all that everyone's talking about now. And that's taken away from other players and other teams that deserve some coverage. I guess the silver lining behind it, the good behind it, if you could find any, would be the. I mean, you're getting a lot more fans to the NFL game, a lot more viewership, but just solely based off Taylor Swift. So if you're looking at it from the business standpoint, it's a win.
No, definitely, it's a win from the business aspect, but as like a fan aspect, it's just like, ugh. I
Yeah,
don't,
no, I get
I
it.
don't make any money off the NFL. I'm just a fan, so I'm annoyed with it personally. But that's just me.
Exactly.
My sister, who does not watch football, is like a Swifty fan, is a Swifty. So now she's rooting for the Chiefs every year. And I'm like, you
Mm.
grew up in a Tampa household your entire life, and you're gonna disrespect us like that? Come on, come on.
Oh man. So we'll move on. Do you think that the Buffalo Bills have taken over the AFC East over the Dolphins so far?
I think that Tua and the Legion of Zoom are good.
Mm.
Hear me out on this. But every time they play a good defense, they don't look that good. Tyreek Hill has been shut down twice this year. 2 times he's been shut down against. He got shut down by Gonzalez and the Patriots before he went
Yep.
out. I mean, that was a big one that he just got absolutely just shut down on. I think he had 40 yards in a tutty that year, that game. He had 40 yards in that tutty. That was all he had for the entire game. And it was like a little quick slant route that he got the tutty on. So I mean, he still got it in the end zone, sure, but like it's not when they and then you get him against Buffalo, and you saw what happened against Buffalo when the Dolphins played them. Got the first loss of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they take another L to Buffalo again.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the Buffalo Bills are still the clear-cut favorite until proven otherwise, but I would not be surprised if Miami wins that division when it comes down to it in December and early January. They've just got too much offensive firepower, I think, to really just lay a goose egg. So it's gonna be close. It could come down to the last couple of weeks, honestly, but I think the Dolphins will probably win that division. But right now, it's Buffalo's AFC East for sure, in my opinion.
I'm taking Buffalo on it. I think they've got the stronger defense, even though they've got a couple injuries now. I do think that they are the better team all around because Miami's defense is not very good. They may be able to score a bunch of points on you, well, unless you have a good defense. But if they score a bunch of points on you, you're going to be able to score a bunch of points on them because their defense is not that good. Like I
Yeah,
said,
that's the truth. We'll go ahead and move on to the next segment here. Should the Jets move on from Zach Wilson, or should they stick the course?
I think I mean, to be real with you, they kind of already moved away from Zach Wilson, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, him being hurt this year. He's trying to make it back. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't see that an Achilles injury that he suffered being able to come back and help that team this year. Next year, sure. If I were them, I would probably trade Zach Wilson. And I love the fact how much he is trying to improve, and I do think they kind of gave up on him a little too early. They didn't give him really a chance. They didn't build the Jets around him like they did Rodgers.
Yeah,
But you also have a Hall of Fame quarterback coming in. It's hard to like want to build around a rookie, and you kind of just want to see what he has before you just build everything around him. So I get it from both points of view. I would trade him and try to get a veteran QB because that team is good. Like the Jets team is a good team. I'm just worried about what the future holds for Zach Wilson.
I would have to heavily disagree with you on this, just for the simple fact that the Jets hung in with the world champs from last year and almost beat them with Zach Wilson under center. I think that at this point, you're almost getting to the point of where it's midway through the season. If you bring in another quarterback, that's just going to disgruntle the entire offense and kind of disrupt the entire chemistry. There's not a whole lot of options either. I mean, Carson Wentz, Colin Kaepernick. Moving on back to Zach Wilson talk. So, I mean, if I'm the Jets, I'm not going to allow Zach Wilson to throw the football over 25 to 30 times a game. That's going to be my max limit for him. I don't fully trust him, but granted, did you see what Brees Hall did this past week? He started to kind of get back in his old self. So if they continue to run the ball really well with Brees Hall and don't have to rely on Zach Wilson's arm as much, that's the recipe for success for the Jets. And just having that defense hopefully not be a liability. They've got a solid defense, but this season they've been starting off at a relatively slow start. Um, so that's what I would do. Stick with Zach Wilson, and he's shown small signs of development, but I think he'll be all right if you just allow the running game. If you allow the running game to do its work.
I think their running game should be one of the best ones in the league. When I think about running backs and running back duos in the league, my first thought should be the Jets and Seattle. Those are the two things that come to mind when I think great duos in the backfield that should be able to.
Mm.
Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook should be running over every defense that they come across.
Oh, I agree. Even though Dalvin Cook has one of the lowest yards per carry and attempts this year, he's not looking the greatest, but granted, it's a very small sample size. He hasn't had a lot of carries behind Brees Hall, so if they up the sample size a little bit more, I think Dalvin will be just fine. But Brees Hall's been kind of he's coming off the ACL injury last year, so they were kind of managing his snap count to start the season. But he's back on that full pitch count now, so he's locked and loaded to have a great 2023 season now, and he showed it last week after a spectacular game.
I think he's great, and I think that he's going to continue to get better. I know that ACL tear last year really messed with him, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he is getting back to his old self. I think Dalvin does need a few more carries. I think that if you can get them both rolling, that team could shock some people. Because like we said, Zach Wilson outperformed Patty Mahomes in that game. He's the only person in a game to outperform Patty Mahomes and have more yards, less picks, more touchdowns, more completions, and he did that against them. And that was also a really weird ending, JT. Another real weird ending. It's if it was just one game, I wouldn't really say anything. But where it's happened several times now this year,
Yeah.
because I don't know, it's weird. It's real weird.
We'll go ahead and move on to the next segment. So, should the Bengals be worried about Joe Burrow's calf injury and the rest of the season for their success? What do you think about that?
I think they need to sit him for a game. I think they need to sit him, let him rest, let him get healthy, because if not, there's a good chance you miss the playoffs this year. The AFC is not an easy it's not easy to get a playoff spot in the AFC. And you're not looking like you're going to win the division right now. So, I would be the only problem is that week 7 is when they get their bye week in week 7. They still got to get past Seattle this week. Then they get a bye, and then they're playing the Niners right after. So I would rest Burrow against Seattle, just chalk it up for an L, let him get healthy, and try to shock the world and beat the Niners with a healthy Joe Shiesty.
I mean, what I would do if I was Cincinnati, you cannot think about short term. You got to think about long term with this guy because he is your franchise quarterback. You do not want to chance the injury of a calf because in 2013, Aaron Rodgers had the same injury and they lost in the NFC Championship game to the Seattle Seahawks because of that. Rodgers could barely walk. I mean, calf injuries for a quarterback, that is nothing to play with because that's all of your momentum going forward with your progression foot. So if I was Joe Burrow wants to be on the field. He wants to help his team. He looked really good against the Cardinals. He had 3 touchdowns, and Jamar Chase was lighting it up, but it was against the Cardinals defense. If I was smart, I would rest Joe Burrow against the Seattle Seahawks. And you might lose that game. Who cares? You're going into the bye week. You're having Joe Burrow rest for 2 weeks, getting ready for San Fran.
Yeah, that's what
fully healthy.
That's what I think, JT. I'm in agreement with that. That's the best idea for the Bengals if they want to bounce back this year and really have a shot. I mean, he was my MVP candidate at the beginning of the season. I thought he was going to show out. Obviously, I was wrong. But he's got to get healthy. And Jamar Chase, and they don't even have T. Higgins, so they're going to be giving the ball way more to Jamar Chase. So, Jamar Chase, you better be open.
7-11.
You said you're always open. You better be open. Because he's going to be feeding that rock to you unless Tyler Boyd starts doing something, but I highly doubt it. He's not been great this year.
Oh, man. Very true. But we'll go ahead and move on. So, what do you kind of think about the Ravens' injury bug this season? They've been plagued back-to-back years with the injury. So, I know J.K. Dobbins tearing up his entire knee this year. I mean, very, very unfortunate contract year for him. Very young running back, talented guy, but Marlon Humphrey too on the defensive side of the ball. He's been missing some time. A lot of players for them have been hurt this year.
We were just talking about the Bengals, and I will say this: that is also a huge benefit for them if they want to try and squeak in and win this division, because they're so banged up. The Steelers beat the Ravens. That's not that shocking, people. A lot of people were like telling me, wow, can you believe that? I was like, no. I mean, yeah, it's kind of obvious. The Steelers have beat the Ravens 7 out of the last 6 times they played. The Steelers always play them tough. And the Ravens have so many people banged up.
Yeah.
Dobbins being out sucks, especially how like the league's treating running backs right now too, and being on a contract year.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a cold world for sure for the running back. If you're a college or high school running back, change positions if you can, because you ain't gonna last long in the league.
Or become a really good dual threat, running the ball and catching.
Yeah,
that's gonna save you so much. Look at Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey's the best player in football, really, right now. Best player, and he's a dual threat. And on top of that, I got another guy that's really good, and everyone talks about it, even though he's coming off a suspension, and I personally do not like this guy. Alvin Kamara is also a very good running, like, dual threat. And a lot of people look at him like he's really good. That's what you got to be right now, because that's what the running back position is transitioning into, is more of a dual threat, or like maybe they'll start having them throw the ball more, because then you could have like 2 QBs in the backfield, kind of like the Saints do with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill? Yeah, him. I couldn't remember his name. Taysom Hill.
Army knife.
Yeah, he plays tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, running back. He does it all, which is impressive.
Exactly. I mean, it's very important to have a guy like that because they're so versatile. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next segment here. Puka Nacua, Rams rookie receiver, poised to continue for a breakout year with Cooper Kupp returning. What do you think?
I'm in a 100% agreement that he will still continue to ball out. He has played at an excellent level. He's probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is looking stout. Cooper Kupp, I think having him back on the field will not only help Puka, but even thrive even more, because now they have to cover Cooper Kupp. And then it's going to leave Puka open. So then because if you cover Puka, you're going to leave Cooper open. I don't think – I saw a list earlier talking about Cooper Kupp. Someone said that he's like the 4th best wide receiver in the league right now. I'm like, he just got back. He has not done enough to be justified as a top 5. Maybe not even a top 10. Not even a top 15 yet. Give him some time, and then we'll talk about it. But at the moment, he's still not at that level again. But I will say, I think it's going to help Puka a lot. I really do. I think Puka's going to excel even more now.
I would agree with that. I think Puka's going to have a solid rookie season. I don't think the numbers are going to continue to be at that amount, because that's pretty spectacular for a rookie. That's like a top 5 receiver type numbers. So his production is going to dip some, I feel like, but that's not a bad thing, because those are still really good numbers, even if they do dip a little. Because I think Cooper Kupp's going to get the majority of the targets from Stafford, but that doesn't mean that Puka Nacua is not going to get any targets, because he's definitely going to get his. But I think it's going to kind of steady off a little bit with Kupp's return. But I think he's still poised to have a good season.
No, I think he's still going to have a good season. I just think that people are going to try to cover Kupp more, because I also don't think they're going to feed him. Like, I originally thought they weren't going to feed Cooper Kupp a lot of balls in this past game, but he still got quite a few targets.
He did.
So they're trying to, I don't know if Matt Stafford's just trying to get him back in the rhythm and not take it easy on him, because I initially thought that they were going to be a little easier on Cooper Kupp, start out of the gate, and then keep Puka as like kind of the number 1 at the moment before Cooper takes back over. But I know they just started feeding Cooper Kupp the ball right away. You know what Matt Stafford is? He likes those wide receivers that got a lot of grit, a lot of determination, got high motor.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. Yeah, I get that. But yeah, Bill Belichick does too.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and move on to Texans talk. Houston Texans. Will the Texans surpass expectations this season in Houston with quarterback C.J. Stroud?
I'm calling it right now. The Texans are winning the division. I'm calling it right now. They are winning the division. Collins, Dale, Pierce, CJ Stroud, that offense is clicking at a higher level than anyone anticipated. I am loving it. And also my favorite AFC team, by the way. Like, I just love the Texans because of it. New Holland or
Yes.
agriculture? You calling Cap? Cap?
Yeah.
No, Anthony Richardson's
Uh,
put on IR, so the Colts are already selling it. Ridley and Trevor Lawrence can't get a real connection going. They both look like crap most of the season. And on top of that, the Titans are the Titans. I have no faith in them. It's not that the Texans. I think the Texans are going to be that amazing. I just think the rest of the division sucks way worse than they do.
I
And
would agree with you, but I think you're forgetting who the champs were last year in their division. The Jaguars. I think that this team starts to get rolling. I mean, they've won 2 games in London, so hey, they've got their juices, their mojo getting right here.
they don't play every
But
week in London. That's not going to help them every week.
exactly. But I don't know, man. I think that Houston. I like CJ Stroud a lot. I think he's number 3 or 4. I believe number 3 in passing yards through week 5. Number 3, yes. So he's really coming out the gate early and impressing people, which is surprising, um, and quite the opposite for Bryce Young. But anyways, going back to CJ Stroud. So Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and the rest of those offensive weapons in Houston have been showing out with CJ Stroud. And it's very nice to see a young quarterback succeed early in a situation where there's not a whole lot of expectations to do well. Um, so I like CJ Stroud, and I hope they do well. But they're not winning the division this year. They ain't. I think they're definitely going to surpass expectations. They're going to win at least. I'll give them 6 or 7 games, but maybe even 8. I'll say 7, but I don't think they're winning the division this year because the Jacksonville Jaguars will win the division and repeat with Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, the dynamic duo. Trevor's going to continue to ascend, and they were my dark horse team to make the Super Bowl this year, so I think they're going to make it
I
possibly.
don't. I don't think they have not looked like a Super Bowl caliber team for me this year.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley has had moments, especially since I've had him in fantasy. Most of the weeks he does not do great for me.
Mm,
He like last week he did great, and I had like the first week of the season he played really well. But
mm,
been a mid wide receiver since then, like for the majority of the season. I don't know if it's a connection. I don't know if it's the double cover, like they're trying to just cover him better, or just Trevor Lawrence just isn't seeing him like he should.
mm.
I think the Texans are going to win that division, but I don't think they're going to be amazing. But I think they do
All right.
win the division.
Let me ask you this: which offense would you rather have, the Texans or the Jags?
Texans right now, Texans. I would take the Texans offense right now. CJ Stroud, I like Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think they're clicking like at the level they need to be. Like especially with someone being in the league for like this is his 3rd year, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence has never been the top 5 in passing yards, has he?
I would not take the Texans offense over the Jags offense if they're like in a neutral field. You got to think about this. Trevor Lawrence has Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley. He has a lot of good weapons. Travis Etienne. I mean, them guys can ball. I mean, them guys in Houston can too, but not to the. They haven't shown enough yet. Nico Collins and Tank Dell are great. I mean, they're good young receivers, but and CJ Stroud is looking like a great QB. But I don't, man. I'm going with the Jags. I would rather have their offense easily.
Well, they've played once already this year. And the score was 37-17 Texans.
Yeah,
20 points, 20-point difference there.
true.
And the Jags were at home.
Mm,
But the Texans always play the Jags tough. That is something you can always consider. It's always a tough game for them. It might come down to the last couple games of the season for the divisionals to see who can pull off the upset and win that division. I'm just saying, don't count the Texans out. I think they got a real shot at this.
I
Like
mean, I
I
wouldn't put
would,
it past them,
I would,
but
I would say the Indy would be my team. But like with AR being hurt again, he had a concussion. Now he's on IR for the shoulder injury. I'm just worried about that for the Colts. And like I said,
yeah,
the Titans, I'm just not sold on. Ryan
I'm not
Tannehill.
either.
I've said this for 5 years, maybe almost 7 years now at this point. The Tennessee Titans will never win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill as your QB. I've said it forever, and I've had Titans fans tell me you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm like, the man is a turnover machine. He tries to be Josh Allen, and it doesn't work for him.
Mm.
Josh Allen can make it work sometimes. Ryan Tannehill, you cannot make it work. I'm sorry.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, Tannehill, he's getting older. They drafted Malik Willis and Will Levis. So
Mayo boy.
those guys got to have a shot at some point, you would think. So I don't know. The Titans are not looking great. The Colts are not looking great. They could be a wild card team maybe if they get AR back and start rolling. Um, Texans, we'll see. But the Jags are still my favorite to win that division. But we'll agree to disagree.
That division is not that tough.
No, it's not. But we'll go ahead and move on to the last topic of the day, everybody. NFL game. Try to guess this NFL player.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
this guy was on a part of the team that won the Super Bowl in 2013, Ravens versus 49ers.
So, all right, in that game, the Ravens won. Okay. I now remember that Super Bowl because the power went out during halftime to do Beyonce's little halftime show. Okay, is that the only guess I get, or the only hint?
This guy was on the Ravens and was a receiver.
Anquan Bolden.
No.
Ooh, oh man, now I gotta really think. It's not Anquan Bolden. Oh man, I gotta think. It's gonna be a hard
If
one.
you don't get it here in a couple guesses, I'll give you one more hint, and that should seal the deal.
So for the Ravens, he's a wide receiver. Marquise Brown.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if he's on the Ravens at that time or not. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to think. It's been a long time since I thought about that team. That was Ray Lewis's last year.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I was rooting for the Brown. I was rooting for the Ravens in that one.
You want me to give you one last hint?
Yeah, give me one more.
He was their kick returner and had a couple of huge plays that game, resulted in touchdowns.
I feel like such a casual right now. I cannot think. This is, to be fair, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to. I was like fresh 18 then. That's how long ago that was. Oh,
Jeez.
ooh.
You give up.
Yeah, I wanted to give up on that one.
Jacoby Jones, the great himself.
I would have not got that one. I don't think about him. It's okay. I get it. Did he win MVP of that game? You remember?
I don't think he did. But he had some huge plays in that Super Bowl for sure. A lot of people don't remember him for some reason.
Man, I can. So my for as a Tampa fan, the guy that won, not the one in that we just had, but the one before that, the 2003 Super Bowl. The guy that won, his name was Dexter Jackson, and we didn't even re-sign him in the offseason.
Yeah.
He won MVP because he had like 3 picks and 2 touchdowns off those 2 picks off 3 of them. So I mean, it kind of sealed it for him because that defense just was locked down.
Yeah.
Ooh, won MVP. Joe Flacco won MVP. I was kind of shocked, especially if that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, really.
I'm trying to.
2013 Ravens.
That's what I'm trying to find out the stats for that because I was kind of curious on how. What's it? You say Jacoby?
Jacoby Jones. Yeah.
What a name, Jacoby.
Yeah. Yeah, Baltimore, they had a really good team back in the day. That defense was no joke.
No, that defense, no. Like Ray Lewis will take your head off. I hate that we don't have, and Ed Reed. I hate that we don't have more like defensive players like that, like in the linebacker position. Like we have some good linebackers in the league, but when I look at them, I don't think any of them compare to like Ray Lewis and some of the older linebackers. Also,
there's a lot more premier edge rushers now compared to linebackers. There's hardly any.
I want to, I got something for you. I want you to give me your top five defensive players right now. Give me your top five
Current,
current right now. We discussed this a little bit earlier. I'm gonna give you top five. It's a little hard because there's so many good defensive players.
Micah Parsons, T.J. Watt, Miles Garrett.
Just all three solid.
Um, that's tough.
I'm
I
gonna
would
throw.
probably,
I don't. We're playing him this week. I'm hoping he doesn't do great, but I'm saying Hutch. Hutch is one of those. He is balling out,
yeah,
especially as a second year. He's. You don't want to play against him.
I would put him top 10. He's
That's
like right on
fine.
the edge. He's right on the edge. Um, T.J. Watt, Miles Garrett, Aaron Donald, maybe
Aaron,
yeah, Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald is still a great. And he's most of that defense is just him.
Oh yeah. And then if I had to throw somebody else in there, I'd probably say like I don't know, like some corner, either Sauce or Patrick Surtain or Jair, one of those guys.
That's fair. I got. There's a lot of good DBs. I think it's like a lot of people focus on cornerbacks. I think safeties do get slept on some.
Yeah.
I don't think they get enough credit for what they do. I think it's very hard. But I think that's one of the hardest positions to play. I know, like
I
some
mean,
people.
yeah, you got to come up and play the run. I mean, you got to be the back line of defense. So it's a very important position.
I like that though. That's a good take.
But well, everybody, that is our last segment of the day. Thank you for watching and tuning in. Leave a comment, leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe. Check out the TikTok; it's doing pretty well. Same handle, Thunder Sports Pod. It's been JT and
The stash, baby. We out. Well, until next week.